During colder weather, older people are especially at risk. These risks can come from every direction, from the cold, from fires, from gas leaks and carbon monoxide poisoning. As they become more unwell, they're likely to collapse. Unless they get help in time, they are likely to die. We wouldn't neglect them like this on our streets, so why do we neglect them in their homes?
Florence was my cousin, and she was in her 91st year when she died, an horrific, preventable death. Christmas Day, we were taking her for a meal at my daughter's, and she said she didn't feel well. I offered to get the doctor, and she said, oh no, there's an announcement on the television, and it says not to bother doctors, hospitals, ambulance. When she fell, I don't know whether it was the halogen heater or the two-bar electric fire, but she knocked herself out, and that was it. And I could not believe it. Florence was black as these trousers, from her arm to her fingertips. She had her clothes burned off her, right down one side, this side and the back. Right down, she was black right down to her toenails. So she must have been lying there all night, and she died a week later. I'm so upset that I was not able to help Florence in any other way.
I've come to talk to you this morning about an initiative we're running in Merseyside in relation to particularly vulnerable older people. Those people who are over 75 years of age, maybe live alone, but certainly have got inappropriate or ineffective heating within their home. This initiative is about removing those heaters from their homes through the support of carers and partners. Clearly we identify vulnerable people, we identify risk, and the ability for us to remove that risk is absolutely important to us as we move forward. For Merseyside, we have a number of fatalities as a result of ineffective heating. Of the 5 fire deaths we had last year, 3 were associated with inappropriate heating methods.
Working in partnership with the NHS and Merseyside Fire and Rescue Service, Fire Support Network recognised there was a desperate need for emergency heating provision. Through a dedicated task force of very specialised and passionate volunteers, we will respond directly to referrals that we receive. We will go into people's properties, we will actually remove any unsafe heating methods, and we will replace that with an oil-filled radiator.
Older people, especially those over the age of 75, who are isolated, socially deprived and ill, are at especially high risk of dying in cold weather. Certain drugs, especially sedatives and alcohol, can further impair the body's ability to regulate temperature, and also they can increase the risk of accidental exposure to cold environments. Patients with heart disease, who've had strokes, who suffer from dementia, uremia, diabetes, are all at particular risk. Cold also reduces the effectiveness with which people can clear their chest, and all of these changes combine to increase the risk of aspiration and pneumonia. Patients with arthritis may in cold weather experience increased joint pain and inflammation. They may have increased difficulty in gripping walking aids and hence increased risk of falls. Cold temperatures result in increased blood pressure. The blood becomes more concentrated and it becomes thicker, and these changes combine to increase the risk of heart attacks and strokes, and these are the principal reasons for the excess of winter deaths in elderly people. It's the responsibility of all professionals and community workers to assess these risks.
I'm Tommy, a gas safe registered engineer. Always check the badge, and especially the date on the badge. It's also on the reverse side of all the appliances that I can work on. Many occasions I've been asked by the occupational therapist to fit an isolation switch on the cooker to prevent the vulnerable person from turning the gases on without igniting them. You can fit an isolation switch out of sight from a vulnerable person so they can't see it.
If your father does come downstairs, because the bedroom, the living room's now classed as a bedroom, there's certain things that aren't allowed, and say that this gas fire would not be safe as a bedroom heater because it's going to emit carbon monoxide, and that's a silent killer. When your father's asleep, he won't have any knowledge that he's actually getting poisoned.
It can cause dizziness, nausea, it can cause headaches, and it can cause redness of the face, and also you could collapse before you even reach the door.
Britain has one of the highest excess winter death rates in Europe. We are not the coldest country, nor do we have the harshest winter, but more people die during the winter months in Britain than they do in Siberia. We can no longer leave those in need in the cold.